Hello everyone, I'm Ronnie and welcome to Show Me How Dad. Today we're going to talk about caulking. First thing I wanted to discuss was the actual caulk gun itself. This is just a standard caulk gun you could get from Home Depot. They're $3 to $6 depending on where you live. A couple features I wanted to discuss on this that I think are important. Number one is this hole right here is your tip cutter. It's got a blade in it right there, and it will allow you to cut the tip off of your caulk. Place it in the hole right there, squeeze the trigger, and you'll cut the tip. Another feature is this little wire right here. What this is for is this is a clean out. You can place it down in the hole and clean out if you're reusing a tube or if there's a membrane that needs to be punctured so that the caulk can come out, or the adhesive if you're using adhesive. And the third one, and I think probably the most important one, is the pressure release. Now, not all caulk guns are the same. Most of them are going to have some kind of a pressure release tab back here. Some of them will actually have a set of teeth underneath the rod, and as the rod goes forward, you can actually turn the rod and it will disengage the teeth and allow it to come backwards and release the pressure. Later on in the video, when you actually see me putting down caulk, you'll see me actuate this lever right here to keep the caulk from coming out, to stop the caulk from coming out. Very important feature. This will save you a lot of time and hassle and cleanup. Next thing I wanted to talk about was the actual caulk tubes themselves. When you cut it, you want to try to get a nice angle on it. I don't know what the degree is, 45, 40 degree. If you think about the angle of the caulk gun that you want from a comfort level, how you're going to apply it, you can figure out the angle. Trial and error, there's no right or wrong, but definitely put some kind of an angle on it versus a straight across cut. You'll be able to apply the caulk better. Some other things you're going to want to have with you as far as supplies. I recommend a damp paper towel or a damp wash rag, something to that effect. Caulk, most of this standard caulk, this is a paintable acrylic caulk. It's white, pretty universal. It says windows, trim, door. This is easily cleaned up with water while it's not dry when you first put it on. So you're going to want some kind of a damp paper towel, damp towel of some sort for cleanup. It'll make your cleanup much easier. I use toilet paper. I'll get a roll of toilet paper and an old trash bag or a grocery bag, recycle a grocery bag. And then I like to do my little cleanups. I clean the tip, and then as you're running your finger along the seam to smooth out your bead, you're going to have overflow. You're going to get it on your finger. I like to use a couple layers of toilet paper, clean it up real quick, just throw it in the grocery bag. One of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to clean up, if it exists, you want to clean up the old caulk. You want to clean up your area, scrape out the old caulk, clean it up, wipe off, vacuum out, get a nice good surface area so you get a good adhesion when the new caulk is laid down. If there's any surfaces that you do not want the caulk to get on, or if you're not going to be painting after you caulk, I always recommend caulking first and then painting. Most of your caulk nowadays is paintable. So you put your caulk down first and then you paint, and that gives you a better looking seam along wherever you've caulked. But if not, if you're caulking after the fact for whatever reason, then I definitely recommend that you tape off the edges that you don't want any caulk to get on there. As you run your finger down, there will be overflow on either side, and once that stuff dries, it'll be unsightly. Definitely tape both sides of the seam, and then also recommend as you put the caulk down and you run your finger along the bead, when you're done, quickly pull the tape up. Don't let the caulk dry on the tape. As you pull the tape up, it will pull the caulk up. So the caulk has some adhesion to it. So you want to remove your tape shortly after you've laid the bead of caulk down. Apply consistent pressure and move steadily along your seam. You want to try to get a consistent single movement to prevent any kind of a bump in the bead. It's okay, you're going to be smoothing it out with your finger afterwards, so it's not the end of the world, but just a nice single movement with pressure, and you can vary your pressure to fill a wider gap. You can slow down your movement to fill a wider gap if you need to. You'll get the feel of it as you start going along the seam, how fast to move and what kind of an angle and how hard to squeeze the trigger to fill the gap. Another thing is the tip. I recommend when you cut the tip, certainly cut it smaller to start with. You can always go back and cut deeper, which would provide a larger hole. So I would start with a smaller hole, depending on what size gap you need to fill. And then if you need to, cut further back for a larger hole to fill a wider gap. Thank you for watching Show Me How, Dad, and I hope you join me next time.